melanin is popping.
I'll tell you right now, I love my melanin.
There's actually 50 shades of melanin.
Legalize it. Yeah. Melanin.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Highly Melanated. Highly Melanated. Highly
What's
melanated.
going on? It's melanation.
Yeah, we black, y'all.
Black and black, biggity black. Attack.
PJ Arroz con Pollo here.
Usually adobo chicken.
Wow. Red curry chicken. Because that's what I made last night.
Oh, y'all got to be chicken, though? that I guess I'm Blair grilled chicken.
And the gang is
all
back. And the gang is back for another episode of Highly Melanated, where we melanate
Garlic chicken.
All right. Well,
Jerk
there
chicken.
you have it.
She is really already melanating her palate.
Fried chicken.
So where we
Garlic
melanate your
chicken.
palate and feed yourself fried chicken, duh.
Not that chicken sandwich that everybody's talking about.
That
though.
shit is disgusting.
It's awful.
I mean, it's just chicken.
Chicken
It's not
sandwich.
the new Popeyes
Popeyes.
chicken sandwich. That's like
Let me tell you, no, it's no good. Don't you even try it. Don't you even try
that's
it.
your opinion.
No.
Pause. I saw somebody on
I
somebody on Twitter. I mean, it's nothing spectacular. He took a bite out of his and he was like, y'all kill me. It was like nothing. But yeah, thank you for coming back for another episode of Highly Melanated, where we melanate your palate and feed your soul. If this is your first time here, welcome.
Welcome, Aquaba.
Bienvenue.
Hello, we have chicken.
We
Lots
Four
of
different
it.
types.
all different types.
Lots of it.
And it's actually season. As always, guys, you can follow us on social media, which would be Instagram, Highly Melanated Podcast. On Twitter, you have us at H_Melanated You can email us any questions, comments, and concerns at Highly Melanated Podcast. Just like you can also email us, or you can send us a DM, or you can send us an instant message in reference to our Highly Melanated voices. The new question that we are posing to you guys is, what does it take for your black card to get revoked? If you have any ideas, if you want to have your voice submitted to that, all you do is just send us a message, send us a voice message, or just simply send a message. Send a pigeon. Send a horse.
Could you imagine a horse just at your door?
I have a message for you.
Hey.
Yeah, guys, send us an audio message via email or DM, just letting us know what your opinion is about what does it take for someone to get their black card revoked.
Snatched.
Understand that there is no right or wrong answer. However you choose to answer it is your answer. That is your highly melanated voice.
But you don't season your chicken.
And you can go to our website, highlymelanatedpodcast.com.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Highly Melanated Manor, where we melanate your palate and feed your soul. I am Jeeves, and as usual, I would love to just start everything off with a toast. But first, let's talk about the special for tonight, which is to take the deal or kneel. Hashtag take the deal or kneel. Would there be anybody that would like to start this off, this toast, as we go around the room?
Good job.
Take 400.
Hey, if it takes 400 takes, it takes 400 takes.
Okay.
I think I had a toast. I have a toast to creatives out there. And the reason why I bring this up is because I ran at work, where I'm currently at right now. I run into creatives in the most in the oddest places, or just people that you just didn't expect. There's this woman. She's an older woman. She's probably 70, 80s. That her name is Bella.
Come on, Bella.
She came up to me like frantic, and she was just like, I didn't know what she wanted. And a lot of people apparently were telling me that she's been looking for me, but apparently she got wind that I do acting. Someone told her that I do acting, and she wanted to speak to me personally. So finally, when she cornered me, because I didn't know what was going on, she would not let me get on the elevator. She held on to my arm, and she was like, I need to talk to you. And I was like, okay. I was like, what? I was like, my break is over. I was like, I don't need to be prematurely fired. I was like, what's going on?
This sounds quite aggressive.
It was interesting, but all that to say is that her aggression was very passionate, because what did she ask me? She wanted to know how to get into acting.
Aww,
someone that is like,
come on, Bella.
75, 80. She's just like, I want to get into acting. She was like, what is it that you do? She was like, all the degrees that I have, all the stuff that I've done in my life. She was just like, I want something to satisfy me and fulfill me. She was just like, and I want to try acting. So she was like, what did you do? What are you doing? You know, what do other people do? And she would not let me go. I had to promise her that I was going to get her a piece of paper and like kind of like write down some of the places and the things that I've done. And I did. And she was so happy. And I think that really goes along with the theme that I've been following all this year, is just to make sure that I've been happy. But happiness is not just for you; it is just for everyone. And I think I'm making it a point to make sure that everyone else is doing the same and feeling the same. So shout out to you, Bella, for even at your young age of whatever it is exactly, Bella, to be still following what you want in your dreams.
That's pretty dope, because actually, the woman who played in Black Panther, the elder, that was her first acting role, and she even brought that up. Yeah, she always wanted to do it, but she never did, and she waited until her 80s, and look.
No, you could do it anytime that you want. I just thought that was amazing. So toast to you, Bella.
Shout out to you, Bella. Clink, clink.
Cheers.
Cheers. I'll give my toast to a young gentleman by the name of Terrence McDale, who has written into us and said, these 2 recent episodes of y'all loving on each other and the melanated voices was such a blessing. Keep up the amazing work, guys. Love and peace, scalp enrichment, and hair grease.
Yes, scalp enrichment. And Blair, tell the class what was said.
It was just that he wants to be a part of the new melanated voices.
Okay.
Well, go ahead and reach on in there, Terrence.
Come on,
Shell.
T.
Thank you so much, Terrence.
Thank you, Terrence. That was so sweet.
Your name is T. Dot now.
Fabulous, fabulous. Let's get into our melanated senses now that we have wet our whistle a little bit. Let's have a little appetizer before dinner and talk about the things.
Still can't whistle.
Oh boy. That ain't it. You can't whistle. You just put your lips together and blow.
You can't whistle neither. Yusha, can you whistle?
Basically. You don't want to ask me? Oh, okay.
You were whistling earlier, of course.
Whistling. You were strongly whistling. Twerk some.
So, guys, I had just muted everybody's microphone.
You so rude. Okay, don't be mad because you ain't got this basic skill that everybody else got. Moving on.
No, you know who don't know how to whistle? Stephen know how to whistle.
There we go.
Stop laughing. They're all gonna laugh
Well,
at
look,
you.
you're not alone. Other people don't know how to whistle either. It's all good. Yes, our highly melanated senses. You guys know these are the things that we see, touch, hear, taste, and smell throughout the week that are full of melanation. Do you have a melanated sense you'd like to share with the group?
I do. Today, August 20th, 2019, marks the exact date of 400 years of a slave. And I say that because on August 20th of 1619, there were approximately 20 Africans that were stolen from the motherland that were brought over to Virginia and sold for food. And this was the first time that black people from Africa were brought to America as slaves and or indentured slaves, and they were just sold for food when they were stolen. So they were slaves. So like I said, today marks the 400th year. You guys can look that up. TheRoot.com would be the best. All you have to do is just type in August 20th, 1619, The Root, and it will pop up at the top. So if this is some history that you all do not know, please enlighten yourself.
Melalighten. Come on now.
That's right.
Mela enlighten. Not
Melalighten. Melalighten yourself.
Yeah.
Which sense would you say that that most resonates with for you?
It's not something that I can touch, I can taste, I can see, but it's something that I can see by reading and hearing by hearing oral tradition, oral stories. So seeing and hearing, and the sixth sense of the spiritual feeling of the ancestors that are present within us and around us from that time. And I say that because when I did my lineage, my DNA lineage, it went back to this time of the 1600s of the early Virginia settlers. So just keeping the memory alive of my ancestors and others would be that additional sixth sense.
Sense. Because that's a cell.
Well, I can smell
What the Rock is cooking?
the boat that they came off.
What he's cooking is a wedding dinner. Go ahead.
Oh, yes.
Okay. My melanated sense is the sense of hearing. This past Sunday, I went to a Caribbean Day festival out in Long Island, and this is a friend who hosts this event. This is the third annual. This is the third year of this event, and it's just a full fun day in the park for families to come together and be able to. The idea is to bring multiple ethnicities, multiple generations of people together to just have one fun day, and the focus is to kind of teach people about Caribbean music, Caribbean culture, and expose it to the masses. And one of the things that the MC kept saying, which was so. I just thought it just really resonated with the times, was he was talking about how he really wishes people would stop saying immigrants, because whenever you come somewhere, the bottom line is that we are all one people. And he wanted to put on this event so that way the people out in Long Island would be knowledgeable and aware of all these different traditions and foods and music and culture of Caribbean people, because we are all one people. So let's all just kind of educate each other. And the music was amazing. The food was amazing. So I got all my senses in that day. But most notably the sense of hearing, just because there was a lot that was being said, a lot of important things that were being said, and then we followed it up with some really great Caribbean music.
Nice. That's dope.
Where's my invite?
Ooh.
All late.
Caribbean food.
My bad.
Now you got me hungry.
I know, the jerk chicken and the oxtail was delicious.
Wow. Well, Seems like everybody wants some chicken today. So with getting into our main topic of kneel to kneel or take the deal, I think we're going to go ahead and serve up some citrus jerk chicken with some sauteed greens topped with sweet onions and some crispy plantains.
That sounds actually good, actually.
I got the hot sauce.
Expect for it not to?
I got the hot sauce in my bag. Swag.
Speaking of Beyonce's husband,
Mr. Carter, Hove, Jay-Z, RocNation, there have been there's been some information put out there that RocNation is doing a deal with the NFL for a social justice type of reform. And there has been, and everybody has seen over and over the specific comment that Sean Carter had made about kneeling when he was presented with the question, how do you feel about the kneeling? Would you kneel? And he in turn says, we've moved past the stage of kneeling. So I wanted to introduce this topic so we can discuss our individual and collective opinions. We would love to hear your feedback on this as well. So this is supposed to be an extension of Colin K. Kneeling and what that meant. His initial reason for kneeling was to protest people of color being shot down and killed by police officers, being abused by police officers, basically being profiled, killed, choked, shot, tased, everything of the nature. And he felt that him kneeling during the national anthem, and it had nothing to do with disrespecting the national anthem, but it had everything to do with the fact that we have a national anthem that speaks of the land of the free, and black and brown people in this country are not necessarily a part of that free when you speak of that. So the deal that RocNation did with the NFL is supposed to take that platform and move it to where they are trying to, so they are quote unquote looking to do action. There's been a lot of backlash. Colin actually tweeted after the interview that, to the players that are still out there kneeling, continue to, continue to kneel, continue to fight against the system, that is looking to take us down. Basically, I'm paraphrasing the tweet. This is for you to go look it up. Not all the time we have to give you the information. Sometimes it's good for you to look things up and read for yourself. I'm saying that for a reason, because a lot of times we get secondhand information from people and we don't necessarily read the truth for ourselves. So this isn't about opinion, it's about what just was, being said. So with that being said, there's a lot of backlash, good and bad. So yeah, let's open up the floor for discussion and see what my fellow colleagues here have to say about this. PJ, I know you're itching. I can see you're itching.
You're right.
Please.
Well, actually, to chime in on what you said, before everything else, let's actually start by if you guys have been under a rock and haven't heard the actual interview and actually heard what was said, here, just take a quick listen.
Okay. I think we've passed kneeling. I think it's time to go into actionable items. I think everyone knows what the issue is, and we're done with that. Everyone knows what You know what the issue is? You know why we were kneeling? Okay. Do you know the issue? Yeah. Do you know the issue? Yes? We all know the issue now. Okay, next. Where are we moving on next? And I'm not, again, so to be clear for the room, I'm not minimizing that part of it, because that has to happen. That's a necessary part of the process. But now we all know what's going on. What are we going to do? How are we going to stop? Because the kneeling was not about a job. It was about injustice. Let me bring attention to injustice. Everyone's saying, how are you going forward? And Cap doesn't have a job. This wasn't about him having a job.
So that comment that he made on top of the partnership with the NFL and not including Colin is what sparked a lot of the backlash. So thank you, PJ, for sharing that. Yeah, please.
I wanted to just first at least bring up the idea of when he said, we're past that. I don't know who we is, because I know I'm not past it. In reference to, I know he meant it. He mentioned it in the sense of, we're past the idea of what the kneeling was for, but it still is something that's bringing more social justice and bringing more awareness to what's actually going on. So I tether with this idea of kneeling is just the bad idea, or we should stop kneeling, or we should just do. I mean, there's more. We should do more, but
so I'm still waiting to hear the spot where he said stop kneeling, or
Correct.
We're not doing this anymore.
Correct.
I think that people are. I understand that people are upset and people are reacting, but I think that we need to take a minute and really think about what is it that you're upset about. And the main thing that I'm consistently hearing is that people are upset with Jay-Z for partnering with the NFL when they have blacklisted or blackballed Colin Kaepernick and kept him from having a job. That's the thing that I am continuously hearing that people are the most upset about. But just like he said, Colin started this protest, and it wasn't about him having a job. Like, it was about him bringing awareness to a social injustice.
Right.
And that is exactly what he did. And I know people might be mad at me, but I agree with Jay-Z in saying, look, like, he said, this is exactly what he said. He said, we forget that Colin's whole thing was to bring attention to social injustice. In that case, this is a success. This is the next phase. There are two parts to protesting. You go outside and you protest, and then the company or individual says, I hear you, what do we do next? And I think what Jay-Z is doing is saying, look, when he said we're past kneeling, my interpretation of it was, we're past the part of bringing awareness to the issue. And that's why he went around the room and said, do you know why we're kneeling? You know why you're kneeling. Do you know why we're kneeling? Everybody knows why this is happening. So what's the next step? An actual physical action. Something needs to be done to start creating a change, an executable action.
Yeah. No, I mean, I also agree with Jay-Z as well. Like, I can understand, like, why people would be upset, because everybody wants to, I guess, not dim anybody else's light. Like, I guess, especially when we're looking at Colin, we don't want to take away from that. But one thing I think everybody forgets is that Jay-Z is a businessman. So he's not going to get caught up in the minutia of, like, because I felt like when that person asked that question, like, how do you feel about, Colin kneeling and stuff like that? I felt like that was an underhanded, like,
it's a bait.
Like, got you. So you're not really good enough for this deal. And I think he addressed it really well. It's not about the kneeling. Like, you could have did anything. You could have stood there and clapped. You could have did a cartwheel when you were doing the anthem. It could have been anything, but it's just something that was to be brought to light. So like you were saying before, now that we know what it is and it's highlighted, how are we addressing it? How are we... Yeah.
So I mean, I completely agree with that. I think maybe my words were coming out like a little differently. I feel like the only way that we can actually bring about real change is to be part of the conversation, and the only way we can be part of the conversation for this part of the conversation is to actually infiltrate the system. So if that's what I actually stand behind what he's doing. It was, I mean, maybe it was just the way it came out, as well as the way the media has like chopped it up in little bits and pieces in reference to just the interview itself.
Well, I think that's the other thing, too. I think, like, just like what you're saying, I think it is important that we're a part of the conversation. But there's only so much talk that can happen before some actual physical change needs to be invoked. And just like you said, the way for us to do that is to be on the inside. And I feel like that's what he's doing, because then the next part of the news that came out was that he might possibly become part owner of an NFL team
of the Browns.
And here's the thing, like before 3 years ago, so Colin started kneeling and protesting, not the national anthem, please, people understand.
Right.
Like he was kneeling to demonstrate that there is a social injustice happening in this country.
Correct.
Okay? A lot of people are like, oh, he's protesting the flag, he's protesting the nation, he's protesting the national anthem. He was kneeling. It was a physical thing that he could do to bring awareness to a social injustice in this country. And so when he started doing this in August of 2016, 3 whole years ago, 3 seasons ago, we're about to go into the 2019-2020 NFL season. When he started doing this, it was to bring awareness to what was happening. And now that we have that, that's what's been happening over the last 3 years is, you know, people are aware of it and everything that's been happening with him. We're aware of it. And now it's 3 years later. Are we still going to talk about it? Or are we actually going to start doing something about it? And I feel like that's what Jay-Z, I mean, obviously, like, there is the business aspect of it, too, because he's not stupid. You know, he's out here. He's not a billionaire for no reason. So there is the money aspect of it as well. But at the same time, too, if it wasn't going to be him becoming part owner of an NFL team, which there are no black owners.
Period.
They've already tried to like Diddy was going to do it, and then they
stopped him from doing it because he wasn't going to do it by himself. He was trying to get a corral of black people to all go in together to do it. And Jay-Z is doing it singularly by himself, becoming part owner of a team. So if this were, you know, 4 years ago before Colin started kneeling to like bring awareness to this issue, I don't think people would have the same response to Jay-Z becoming part owner of an NFL team that they are having right now.
No, and you brought up a very interesting point. Like, you brought up the finances of it all, right? Because at the end of the day, Jay-Z is still a businessman, and so he's not just going to be just doing this just solely just for the social injustices. There has to be something that's there that is fiscally sound for him to make this move. And one of the things when I was reading the articles and listening to people's comments is that people felt like he shouldn't have gone that route and he could have invested his money elsewhere because they felt like the money was tainted. Like it's not something that you could have invested in any other corporation or whatever business deal. But with this, where they're not doing the social injustice, why would you invest your money into that? But I guess my question to everybody would be, what is, I guess, money? Like, when is money too evil? When is money too tainted? Because the way that I look at money is only as good as the person that's going to utilize it. So it's a tool. It's a means to the ends. So it's not the ends to the means. So if he's going to do this business deal, regardless of whatever happened in the NFL, whatever is currently going on in the NFL, I think there's probably no other better person to actually do it right now to make that change.
Well, that was my question: is if it's not going to be him, then who is it going to be? Nobody else has tried to. Well, as far as I know,
Kim Kardashian.
Well. Lord Jesus.
But you know what?
But as far as I don't know anybody else who has really tried to infiltrate the NFL system over the course of the last 3 years. Like, what else has happened where, because the NFL, they're the ones, essentially, they're the ones holding all the cards right now, you know?
Well, I mean, honestly, what it is this. It's easier for him to be able to do it because he already owns a company that manages a lot of NFL players. Mm-hmm. So it's easier for him to infiltrate it. But I have a question. I'm just curious, if that money is considered tainted or dirty money, then does that mean the settlement that Colin received is tainted or dirty money? Does that mean the money that the NFL players who are still kneeling are receiving in their salaries,
great question,
based on their deals, is that tainted money?
That's
because they're still getting paid to be there, and none of them have voluntarily left the NFL to join their brother in arms, but they still stay there and they kneel. Or stay in the locker room and kneel. Mm-hmm.
So to kind of answer that is very interesting. I think once again, no one's paying anybody else any mind when it comes to the football players, because the football players, even though they're making gobs of money when it comes to being an athlete and what your annual salary is, it's still nothing compared to what Jay-Z is making. So he's kind of like at this particular point in time, for a lesser use of words, becoming that scapegoat because it's just all like, well, you should know better. You should know better. You have all this money. You have all this means. When you're talking about an NFL player can, unfortunately, 9 times out of 10, whether it be because they lack the talent or because they just don't have the means, have nothing else to do but be an NFL player. So they're just always going to be that.
That's their fault because at one time Jay-Z was only a drug dealer and then he turned it into making music and then he turned it into other things and he used his money to invest it to get to where he was. There was at one time when he was only worth $100 million or
I agree.
I mean 100,000 or 200,000 and then he looked for other ways to be able to for example, a lot of rappers that we know who are very good back in the day are no longer popular today.
Right.
Let's be honest, Jay-Z has been out for a long time.
Correct.
And his career could have easily ended a long time ago. But what he did was he looked for an alternative way to be able to stay relevant and dipped his hand in other things. So these football players in turn can do the same thing. Maybe they can come together with that last salary that they got and pull their money, invest it, and then look for a way to create a coalition between the people, the civilian people, and law enforcement to be able to make a change. And then in turn, that company gets invested in by other people where
That's
it
the
becomes
thing.
larger. I'm just throwing these out.
I mean, so
as
Absolutely,
ideas.
I agree with you, but people just don't view it as
And
that.
see, and that's the thing. Well, how God, I'm sorry.
No, go
God.
ahead.
No, I'm saying how are we going to get other people to take this idea of not being mad at the man as far as what Jay-Z is doing and understand the deeper meaning behind what it is that he's doing
That's
and
the
look
thing.
at the bigger picture.
Because people want to villainize Jay-Z for doing this, but I don't see anybody else really trying to make these kind of moves.
Absolutely. And the same people that are vilifying him are going to be the same ones that are going to tune into that halftime show that he's going to put on.
And that's the thing. So, like, the other thing that I kept, like, hearing and kept seeing was, people are like, well, I hope that with Jay-Z being on the inside, he'll have some type of say in getting Colin his job back or getting him back in the NFL playing again. And I'm like, okay, that's nice for you to hope that. But just like you mentioned before, people want to forget that Colin Kaepernick has a settlement from the NFL. It's undisclosed what the terms of that settlement are. For all we know, part of the terms of that settlement can be is that he will not seek a job within the NFL anymore. And there could be a whole NDA with that. So he's not allowed to talk about it.
Yeah.
That might be something
definitely.
that Jay-Z already knows.
And see, and the part about the whole idea that there is this actual settlement, but he is also at the same time putting out there 897 days without work, saying that, I've been blackballed from the NFL to do this and that, whatever. And these are the things that we don't know what's actually in the settlement, because I was just somebody was just talking about this earlier, and I was just overhearing their conversation about the settlement, and nobody knows, and we're all so quick to jump on the back saying, well, Jay-Z shouldn't do this and Jay-Z shouldn't do that or whatever, and he's getting bed with the devil, with the enemy. Well, and if you want shit to change and you already see that there's not a way to change it from the outside,
you got to infiltrate.
you got to get in there and get in that good dick and change it.
No, you really do.
What is the alternative? Like I said, I feel like there haven't really been any moves on this scale done by anybody in the last 3 years.
I got to say, my question is this. If he were to take back a job, what would this mean? Like, all that he did to be the sacrificial lamb to go back, what would come out of that? Like, does that mean cops are going to stop?
Right.
Right.
Does that
right.
mean cops
No.
You get what I mean?
It doesn't. It doesn't. You know what it is? It's 100% optics. And I can't. What's unfortunate about a lot of this is that 99.9% of the people that are out there don't know how to run a business at the end of the day. So everybody's just throwing out their opinions. He should have did this, and how dare he get in the bed, in the bed with the devil and all this stuff like that. But in order to actually successfully create change, you need to have the capital. You need to have the people. You need to have all these different things.
You need to have a plan, and I'm pretty sure that the plan that he has right now, it goes beyond what this moment is showing.
Absolutely.
And let's not forget, like, to just play devil's advocate on the other side of the table, like, the NFL is winning right now because of this.
Thank you.
They are. They are winning. They
and
knew exactly what they were doing. They knew that by having Jay-Z as a partner, they have access to an audience that has otherwise, you know, kind of dwindled away, boycotted them again. And even like this NFL boycott, like, didn't really like kick off. That's because we don't know how to boycott anymore. We don't know how to commit to a boycott anymore like our ancestors did. But the NFL is winning right now because of this. And I don't want to sugarcoat that. Like, yeah, like they're benefiting from this. They're not really losing anything from this. And Jay-Z is taking all of the heat.
You know, and that's it. That's what I was hoping that you would actually bring this up, because I feel like this is the same thing that Trump does, or any of these other like big people in media, where they just, you know, try to sugarcoat everything else somewhere else so it'll divert what you're actually mad at. Like, black people can't be mad at two different things at one time. So like the idea of saying, well, now they'll be mad at Jay-Z, so now nobody can kneel anymore. They won't even notice that anymore. So now it'll be a completely different argument that has nothing to do with the NFL, which has everything to do with the idea of why Kaepernick was actually kneeling in the first place. So if we never lose sight and lose focus on what the actual initial problem was, and we can get beyond and get past this idea of him selling out, then we can actually get somewhere.
So, you know, I want to bring this to the table. So the social justice initiative, Expire Change, Jay-Z is going to be the face of this. Let's talk about that, because there's been backlash about that too, where people are saying that Jay-Z being the face of this is taking over Colin being the face of the first person to kneel and stand up for this social injustice.
I mean, that's the same thing as saying, like, okay, like, Martin Luther King took away the grandeur and the appeal of Rosa Parks, like, sitting. You know, like, I don't think that it's...
And she wasn't even the first one. It was somebody before her. She's the one who just became famous off of that.
Exactly.
So it's pretty much the exact same thing. Rosa Parks is the one who became the start of the movement.
So you started it.
But she wasn't the first.
To quote our good friend Nipsey, it's a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
It's a marathon, and I look at it as the passing of the baton. So just like Jay-Z said, you know, like, there are two parts to a protest. The first part is to bring awareness. The second part is to bring action.
Mm-hmm.
And with the disdain, or with the relationship that Colin Kaepernick and the NFL have right now, yeah, it would have been great if he could have, you know, been the face of this. But who knows when or if that is even going to happen. And if we do have somebody right now who can be the face of it, who can at least try to invoke some type of change, because there wasn't a social justice reform within the NFL before. And at least now there is one. I don't know how effective it is, but at least it's there.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I want to take a quick little pause in here, just because I'm curious, and I'm seeing how this sounds, but I'm just really curious about what she had to say.
When it comes to Jay-Z, I don't like when people are going and saying that he's a sellout. But the thing is that it's like he said before, the NFL needs him. He don't need them. But in order for these rich white men, because the owners of the NFL, they're rich white men. In order for rich white men to understand our issues and our community, there needs to be a black man that represents the community to tell them, like, yo, listen up. You know why this man kneeled? This man didn't kneel because he hates America. This man kneeled because this is what these cops are doing to our men. This is what these cops are doing to my people. And you guys don't understand that. You guys don't understand why is there a anger and why have the NFL been boycotted. It's not because it's not a black against white thing. And then when it comes to Jay-Z, I don't like when people are going and saying that he's a sellout, but the thing is that
it's just started over.
Yeah,
I'm gonna need her to fix that battery first, though.
Okay, fix your fire detector, girl. You might have a fire.
Hold it back.
Okay, look, the battery is low. Change that.
I wanted to bring that up because I know how big fans of you and Cardi B are.
Sure,
so
yeah.
I mean,
And I agree with
I just like that she acknowledges these types of topics. I think
Yes.
that's
important.
that's beautiful.
It's about it.
Beautiful
great.
thing.
It's great.
Sidebar. I
love it.
love that she even took the time to sit down with Bernie Sanders. Like that. That's amazing.
Shout out to the Libra.
You know what I mean? Just saying. Like I like that she acknowledges these things. But please respond to what she said.
I agree. I was going to say the same thing, and people forget, like he said, like, I don't need the NFL. The NFL needs me. Okay. So it's not, yes, there's, like I said, there's the money aspect of this, but just like Cardi B said, it's not going to be a room of white men who make the changes that need to be made. Like there needs to be somebody in there who is a representative of the community, a pillar of the community in the room to at least see that the conversations and the actions are going in the direction that they need to go in. And if it wasn't going to be Jay-Z, I don't know. I'd like to hear from you guys. Like if it wasn't going to be him, then who should it have been, or who could it have been that like people wouldn't have this type of backlash against?
There's actually nobody else. There's nobody with that much capital present date. The only other person that who in the media's eyes who's next in running is what, Tyler Perry?
Like had it been Beyonce, do you think people?
I'm
would
talking about
have,
male
like,
wise. That's all I'm just saying.
Yeah, no.
But had it been Beyonce, do you think people would be reacting like this?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably.
Because of the subject. Yes.
I don't
know.
The Beehive
wait.
would not have, but everyone else would have.
Yeah, because the Beehive is nothing but more than just a bunch of high schoolers and younger. So yeah, it's a little different.
I
No,
really
they definitely
think
would've.
that people would have looked at it as like, look at her trying to get on the inside and make some change.
Oh, that's what you mean. Okay, well, yeah.
And if she'd have said the same comment, I don't
So
think
is
so.
that like
she
again?
don't- I
Is
don't
that
think
the
she
thing
would.
that people are
But she
upset
doesn't get
about? Are
involved
people
into
upset about like what he said, and specifically what
Yes.
comment are you referring to?
him saying, we're past the kneeling. People are mad about that.
And see
They're mad about the deal, but that comment.
I
is-
don't think people understood
that what he meant
Thank
by
you.
that comment.
Exactly.
So let's clarify that. Just like I said before, my interpretation of the comments of "we're past kneeling" is we're past the phase of bringing awareness. We need to take action.
We all know
And
why-
again,
why we're
I don't
doing
know.
it.
I don't understand why people didn't get that, because he
I
then
don't know.
followed
He-
it
right,
up
he
by
explained
saying,
it.
"You know why we're kneeling, right? You know why we're kneeling, right? You know why we're kneeling, right? Okay, everybody knows why we're kneeling. We're past the point of bringing awareness to it because the awareness is here."
This is like the point of Martin Luther King versus Malcolm X. So we're doing the whole peaceful protest. Now we're past this point. Now we're not saying we're getting violent with it, but the idea is now to take action, to take matters into your own hands and do what it is that needs to get done.
Yeah.
So not hoping that others will just like, okay, well, you know what, we'll let him back and we'll let him.
Well, how
it's
long
okay.
So basically,
gonna
we shall
talk about
overcome
it?
into action.
Okay.
Yeah.
How long can we, have these discussions and talk about it and do the protests without actually doing something that is going to cause some type of change?
But also, like Red had said, and I want to go back to you asking, well, more or less saying that people didn't understand. It's like what Red said. A lot of people, what happened was the media was chopping up the audio, so you were only hearing one part of it. If you watching the whole interview to get a full scope of actually what happened, they were taking bits and pieces of
Which is usually what the media does in
of,
general.
of what he said.
Even like we're a former media, and we try our best to actually make sure that we're getting the full information. And as you listen to Cardi,
And at the same time, we're always encouraging you to do your own research.
That's why I started off in the beginning saying, please look it up, read it for yourself. And I want to bring something else to the table. And I want to bring to the table that, let's be honest, the NFL is mainly supported by middle America. And when I say middle America, it's mainly supported by white America. They eat, live, and sleep football. It's like when football season comes on, it's a family thing. From the grandfather all the way down to the baby child.
Now, also, wait, when you say middle America, now you don't mean tax wise, because we've already when Vaughn was here and she told us how we thought that the middle part of America really is higher than what we think.
I'm talking about location when I say middle America.
Okay.
So I'm
Continue,
talking
sorry.
about I'm talking about location, basically the rural areas of America where there's mainly farmland.
In Texas, like on the farmland,
all the way up
the
to
footballs
to Illinois,
for high schools.
But all the way to basically. What I'm saying is that there is a cult following in America when it comes to football, as there is for baseball. But football, there's a cult following.
Just like with Jen Jackson's titty, and when I say that, I don't want to cut you off. I mean, but when I say that, it's just the idea of how the whole entire NFL, this cult following, had this idea that a black woman should never ever show her damn titty on TV, but we can see everything else with Madonna and all these other people. Continue, I'm sorry.
So what I'm posing here is the idea that we know who supports the NFL in the majority, meaning they paint their faces, they go get the jerseys. They not only support NFL, it's college, it's little league, it's all the way down to the peewee. So basically, with this being said, a lot of these people that follow it that are in Middle America don't feel the same way that us of people of color feel about social justice and social change. So what happens when they see stuff like this? Because I'm looking at a lot of the comments of a lot of these articles, and a lot of the comments are by people who are in Middle America that hardcore support NFL, and they're looking at this like, well, why do they have to use this platform to do this when we just want to watch a game? And a lot of them are willing to stop watching the NFL. Now, what happens if a lot of them switch over and say we're going to just support college football? That in turn can hurt the NFL, because a lot of them are not necessarily for social injustice for people of black and for people of color.
Well, I just don't see that happening. But to kind of piggyback off like what you're saying, this is why it's so important that they needed Jay-Z, right? Because you can't just pitch this any old way and expect people to just be all like, all right, yeah, I'm all for social injustice or social change. You know what I mean?
So why should Peter out in Arkansas care that Jay-Z is doing this for social justice?
I don't think he does care.
Exactly. So why should Peter continue to watch the NFL when he knows that he's watching the NFL in support of the social initiative change that Jay-Z is partnering with the NFL? What if Peter says, you know what? I don't want to get involved in all this politics. I'm just going to continue to watch college football. And then it passes from Peter to John to Mike and so forth and so on. I'm just posing a question.
No, I get you.
Because there are people talking like this in the millions.
I don't think that, being a huge football fan myself and an avid football watcher of high school, college, peewee, NFL, all of it, I don't think that the person that you're talking about, like Peter from Middle America, who feels like I just don't see them thinking like, oh, now you're shoving all this social injustice stuff down my throat. I'm done with the NFL. I'm not going to watch it anymore. Right. Like, if that were the case, like when all of this awareness started happening 3 years ago, the viewership would have dramatically decreased, and it didn't.
It did, actually.
It went in 2016. The viewership was around like, I remember because I looked it up earlier today. It was around like 16.7 million views for the 2016 season. For the 2017 season, it went down to about like 14 million views. So that's not enough for me to think that all of these people feel like, oh, like all you're talking about is social injustice. I'm done with the NFL. I'm not going to watch it anymore.
Right. I don't think that it's going to change that drastically. Yes,
and that's not even the target audience for this. Right. The target audience for this is us, the people who are enraged by this social injustice that's happening, and we want to see some type of change happen.
But that might be the target audience, but I'm talking about the actual ones that actually tune in and watch it.
I think that they're going to continue to watch.
But like, what does that social change or social injustice, what does that change look like anyway? Does that mean like we're just going to like cut out like 2 whole quarters and we're going to talk about social justice? No, I don't think that's going to happen. I think that the NFL itself is going to remain the same for the most part. What's changing is that now you have more capital and more backing to do other things and be more influential in other parts and other organizations. I think that's what's going to happen.
Let me throw this right on here just in case. For people who forgot that this actually was a thing, this happened.
If you were owner, you would sign Colin Kaepernick, right?
Yeah, I dedicated the story of OJ to him at Meadows concert.
Have you met him?
No, we just had dialogue over the phone. We told him to get together.
Do you have any doubt that if this not had happened, he would be signed by a team?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's it. I just wanted to just throw that back out there. Understand that everybody needs to know that there's a bigger picture behind everything. It's
right.
a plan. In order for a plan to take action, take effect, you have to focus. We mentioned about this in our last episode when we were loving on each other, and we were saying how each one of us, or especially my comment to Blair, as far as coming up with a plan, writing, taking whatever it is that you need to do to get that plan done, and then following through with it and doing it in silence up until to the point where it's now out.
So that's the thing, too, that goes with what Yushi was saying. I think that what the social justice reform program within the NFL is not really going to affect the games that we see on TV. There's nothing that's going to change about like the programming of NFL games. All of this is happening behind the scenes, and just pulling up the NFL website and just quoting some of it here. The NFL's social justice efforts focus on reducing barriers to opportunity and prioritizes making improvements in 3 key areas: education and economic advancement, community police relations, and criminal justice reform. I personally would like to see like what the action plan is for how they're going to address all 3 of those topics. Off the top of my head, personally, I don't think that those are going to be the kind of things that they're going to talk about during the games or during like airtime. So that's why I don't think it's going to affect people's viewership, because all of this is going to be happening supposedly in the communities and in the police stations and within, like it said, within like the community police relations, and all of that is happening on the ground. Now, the NFL is obviously, if they're smart, they're going to do coverage of this and they're going to talk about like what they're doing. But again, I don't think it's going to affect viewership at all, because it's secondary to actually watching the game itself.
I mean, to be honest with you, the only time that when it comes to viewership, the only time that any of these like actual issues actually become a thing is during the Super Bowl. That's the only time when they actually spend the money on these commercials. And then like this past Super Bowl, and the only reason why I was watched because of that commercial that I was supposed to have been in, but it came out later after the Super Bowl. All of those commercials, a lot of them were dedicated towards social injustice. Correct. You know, so, but during the season, those commercials weren't
during the season, like they have like little things like here and there, like in between like timeouts and whatnot. They'll do like a little quick story highlight, or they'll talk about NFL player who's doing this in their community. They'll start like, and that's where the social justice reform platform started, was because they wanted to highlight the individual players who were doing specific things within their community. So they'll show like, oh, the Panthers went out to, you know, the local Boys and Girls Club last weekend, and they'll show like video footage of them like with the kids like that past weekend or whatever, and they'll talk about that. Those are like the little things that they like insert in between the timeouts and the commercials and whatnot. But as far as specifically talking about like police reform, like I said, I want to see what the actual action plan is for that. And I think that specifically is where Jay-Z comes in, because these are the kind of things that they need to work on.
Right. So I want to pose this. So then you have across the country where in law enforcement, their superiors are telling them, you know, when it comes to black and brown people, shoot to kill, things of that nature. You have 45 who's saying, oh, throw him in the back of the paddy wagon and make sure you bump his head on top of the car. And then you have like across the country where police are not being indicted or brought up on charges. They're being let off, like we just saw with Eric Gardner, the cop that choked him out. Actually,
got fired.
Daniel Pantaleo.
They dropped the charges, but he did get fired. But he's not doing any jail time for killing someone. And we're seeing all these cops being let go with a slap on the wrist.
And he's also suing for wrongful termination.
Absolutely. So you have these things where there is. The blue side, and then there's a civilian side. When that tape goes up, it becomes the side of them versus us. And with all that the initiative that's happening and all that the NFL and RocNation is teaming to do, how does this really, really target those police stations in Missouri, in Florida, where they are with the intent set on, like you got the rookie cops coming out with their happy finger? How does this actually trigger, how does it actually fix the issue of them doing that and them in their mind still viewing black and brown people the way that they do?
Well, like I said, I don't know what the actual plan is to invoke that kind of change, but I think it's better to at least be in this situation than it is to not have any options at all and let the status quo continue.
They're going to have to do a lot of relational bonding, if you will, because a lot of the indifferences that, like you said, Yushi, with that we have between the blue side versus the other side, is that there's this misunderstanding amongst the community. I mean, like, I used to get it all the time. My dad is a retired NYPD, and people used to say all the time, "Oh, he's a cop." Dad's one of the best cops that have ever been around. And when you hear him talk about some of the issues that plague both sides, it's an eye-opener, because you start to really say to yourself, okay, it's not just a simple fix. You can't just go in there and be like, hey, you, stop doing that. No, you have mental issues on both sides. You have issues of people, power and crime on both sides. So it's not going to be a simple easy fix. And I think that's what they're going to have to figure out if they want to really sit down and make a difference. What is the relationship between two sides? Why do both sides feel certain ways about each other? What is real and what is stereotypical? Because even in our community, what's a stereotype is that, like, all cops are bad, or that a cop should, let's just say they get into a scuffle or whatever the case may be, a cop should refrain from pulling the trigger. I'm not a cop, right? So I can't really speak on that. But once again, when speaking to people who were police officers or are police officers, it's not an easy thing to deal with when you feel like you're being targeted yourself.
I'm glad that you mentioned mental issues. Because I wanted to bring up that, me personally, I think within the police force that when you get out of the academy, it shouldn't be just going through the academy one time and that's it. I think that they should have physicals every year. I think that they should have sit down with a counselor and be able to go through and talk about these things. And I think that they need a lot more support than what they're being provided, because it is a double-edged sword. But you do also have those cops who innately within them react differently when they see a person of color or when they see a white person. It can be a white person with a knife or a gun in their hand, and they're willing to tase them or put the dog after them to get them to come down. But if it's a black person with a cell phone, that person all of a sudden ends up dead. So I think that
it takes 5 to 6 years for the person to be
absolutely
even charged.
Yeah,
right.
Or even charged. And that's why I think that the police themselves, there needs to be a little bit more policing on them in reference to the mental support. The being able to talk to a counselor, the going through physicals. There should be no cops that are heavyset or overweight.
Right.
I think that they should all be retrained, but if it's every year or every 3 years or whatnot, because what happens is you get these cops that are on the beat for 20 years and they carry with them nowadays the 20-year-old attitude, and things have changed, and you can't bring your personal isms and schisms into the job, because then it affects how you're going to see Raheem versus how you're going to see Cody.
But a lot of this stuff now, I'm sorry, Chris, I'm jumping ahead of you. A lot of these things that are happening now are really happening because it just appears that anybody can just go through training and become a cop. So they're giving these young kids, these young people who have who should actually do desk duty first automatically, and now they feel like they have a weapon in their hand. Now they want to automatically use it, as opposed to those who have been in the system. I mean, it's statistically
seasoned versus
seasoned
wet
versus
behind the ear.
wet behind the. I mean, it's. Go ahead. I just feel that I have a different. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you, but that's a hard sell to tell somebody when you have a police force of 30,000 people and New York City is 8.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how do you say, oh, no, you can just do desk duty because we need you to really sit down and train and make sure that you're being PC and socially and politically
well, then if that's the case, then they need to pair them up with the right people. Then you need to also then find out who your corrupt cops are.
You're
and all,
talking about resources.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking 30,000 versus 8.5 million.
So we just let them do what they want because we don't have resources.
I'm not saying that, but maybe that is where RocNation and this new deal with NFL will come in. They will now have the resources to be able to say, hey, you guys have a serious mental health issue. Let's give you 100 more counselors in each borough or each district or whatever the case may be. It is completely lopsided, and we seem to forget that the same things that we complain about in our jobs every single day. We don't have enough staff. There's too much work. All this stuff. It's the same thing when it comes to NYPD or any other police force. The only difference is that we're not carrying around guns and that we are not dealing with life-changing or life-threatening decisions 9 times out of 10. I'm not saying that the police force, NYPD, whatever police force that you're talking about is right. I'm saying that this might be the solution because now there's the resources to say we need the support, whether it be psychologists, whether it be needs to be more people that are better trained to hire the people that are not going to snap 3 years from now and kill off everybody. Like that, those are the things that I'm looking at.
I think that's a beautiful example of the fundamental change that can actually happen now. And just like you were saying before, it's not going to be something that's going to happen overnight. It's going to take a lot of work. And I think that's the other part of this whole Jay-Z thing is I think the people who aren't having like these, negative reactions towards him are just expecting, okay, he's going to get in there and fix everything. No.
That's not how that works.
This is going to take some exactly. Exactly. Some people and friends of mine, like people were talking about like, oh, Obama didn't do enough for black people. Well, give the man some time. Like 8 years is not enough time to change the direction of this country
and create some new shit.
Exactly. Like this isn't going to be an overnight change, but my hope for this is just like you said, Red, like some type of actual change that's going to be implemented that is going to yield some type of positive result down the line. I know it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen next week. But the fact is we need to start putting in some type of changes now that's going to have a long-term effect.
Yeah, and I really think that we have to target probably these smaller forces where things can happen immediately because, yes, NYPD is a large force. LAPD is a large force. But you have other places where there's not such a large force and there's more of them than there's more of us. And in those places, they walk around with a badge and it's like the guy who was picked on all through high school, all through college gets a badge.
Right.
And all of a sudden,
just like the one who pulled over Sandra Bland.
And then all of a sudden, he's going out with a chip on his shoulder because he was bullied. So now he is the bully. You get what I mean?
Yeah,
so
Power.
NYPD is like one example, but there are millions of other police forces across the country. I just wanted to just bring this. Like, I don't disagree nor agree. I will say this, that I truly do like the fact that this deal has happened with the NFL and RocNation because it has to start somewhere. We have to begin some type of change. It's not going to happen overnight, but the change has to begin. And honestly, the reason why a lot of black people do not like the police is because to us, it went from us being slaves to the overseer to us being civilians and them being the police. And that's the energy that the police have. It's like the overseer because I can be out here minding my own business, living my best life, and I'm walking and then all of a sudden a cop stops me and starts harassing me for no reason. And I don't even look like I'm a suspect.
Right.
But yet you got this guy over here looking like a serial killer with the combat boots and the shaved
unbothered.
head with a black duffel bag walking down the street, and nobody says anything to him. So it's like, where
He's
do
an
we...
American.
And that's another thing. I mean,
He's an American.
I don't even want to get into.
I mean, that's another. That's
gonna
another.
be a whole.
That's a whole.
They all came over here to New York.
That's a whole nother
migrating and
conversation.
shit. So they ain't even from here.
Yeah. That's
All right.
yeah.
But
So
yeah,
clearly, we could continue talking about this forever.
And we will.
And we will. But that also means that we want you guys to chime in on this too. Make sure that you write in, you comment, let us know what your thoughts are as well. And while you're telling us your thoughts, also tell us your dessert. I think today, just because we're talking about like football and sporting events and arenas and whatnot, like what is you go up to the concession stand at whatever sporting event that you're at, regardless of whether or not you actually want to be there. You're there. You go up to the concession stand. What cool, tasty treats are you going to get for yourself? And with that, also give us your final thought.
I'm dying over here.
Please don't die.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So tell us what your cool, tasty treat from the concession stand is, and then also give us your final thought.
I'll start this one off. My cool, tasty street.
Eat that street.
first of all,
Asphalt.
what game are you at or concert?
Yeah, there you go.
I am at a WNBA game.
Okay.
Who?
Any?
Come on, New York Liberty.
Yeah, probably Liberty. I took my mother for her birthday 2 years ago. So I'm there supporting them, and I will have a blueberry slushie. Yeah, that's what I want. With a hot dog, with everything on it. And I'll give my final thought, and I'll dedicate or move my final thought. We're going to come up with a name for this part. But I'm scrolling, as we're having this conversation, I'm scrolling through Twitter and I'm looking at everything, and I see someone by the name of at MMK4 Sure, SURE, and his tweet simply said exactly what you said, Blair, which is, people need to give Jay-Z a chance to execute his plan before passing judgment. Please don't let them pit us against each other. Please don't let them pit us against one another. They good at doing that, remember? Okay, well, that was
that last
sorry for your edits, but yeah, remember that that the whole idea of pushing us away from each other to now we're fighting each other. Now we're doing the whole Kanye thing all over again, and now not understanding what it was. And I guarantee you, Kanye probably meant something so much different, so further along the lines than we thought. Jay-Z is trying to do this, and RocNation is trying to do this. And they're not trying to do this; they are doing this. But if we pin each other and don't even give this brother a chance to get this shit off the ground, then what was it for?
Well,
your turn, Sal.
Let's see. What game am I at? I actually miss being at baseball games. It was a good pastime with me and my dad and my grandfather. So being at a good baseball game.
Yankees or Shea?
City Field. Well,
Oh.
it's funny because it's not Shea anymore, but back then
it was Shea Stadium.
Back then, Shea. You took my dessert.
Do you want the blue? There are other colors, eh?
I think I normally mixed it, so I'd be like blue and red, red. And I'll take a sausage with onions and things like that because I'm always eating. So, and I guess my final thought
Should
would
dip it
be,
in. It's actually really good too. Go
dip
ahead.
it in what? Into the slushie?
Don't judge me.
That is some fat shit.
I wasn't fat. I was a husky baby.
Wow. My final thought is, I want people to, I guess, I don't know. I feel like people never see like the bigger view, and I get it because we become so entrenched with what our issues are and what our problems are, and I think if we better understood what the issues and problems are, I think that we would be able to better address them. You know, because not with this whole deal with RocNation and the NFL today, but I have had over the course of many years, you know, people come up to me, and I'm sure my sister got it as well. You know, your dad's a pig. You know, stupid cop. And I'm like, but there's good cops out there. Like, you know, and he tried his best to always be like 100% positive. And I think, you know, I don't think that we're any better if we sit down and we admit it, you know, immediately go to the stereotype, no matter how hard the hurt or the pain is. The only way to get out of it is actually by asking the real questions. Okay, like what did this man in particular do to you, or, you know, what are the issues? I think that's what we need to start doing more of.
So, I am at my niece's soccer game.
Yay!
Hey.
Football, the real football.
City of Winchester versus them. Whoever there is, they're going to lose. You're going down!
There you go.
Oh, wow.
Yes, you that auntie, aren't you?
No, right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because, no, she's great, and she's a striker. And she's at the big stadium. Shout out to my niece. Only got one. I'm having a cherry Coke slushie, some bonbons, popcorn, and nachos and cheese.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay, for the whole box.
Come on,
Yes.
Yes, I'm coming back like that. So, yeah, my final thought is as follows. I am actually going to bite off of what PJ just did and share a tweet because I like this tweet. It's from @RuffBuffKid, RuffBuff Kid, KID. Quote, so Hove can bail protesters out of jail. Make docs about social injustices. Constantly put the RocNation lawyer, Alex Sparrow, to work pro bono on many cases for the families of injustices, but he can't partner with the NFL to magnify those efforts? Thinking face. #Jay-Z NFL, end quote. I do understand why a lot of people are feeling a way about this, and I think it's because a lot of them forgive me for saying it, but I'm just going to be honest, are miseducated as to what's happening. Red said it best earlier. A lot of people do not have business minds. They do not know how to run a business. And when you are the first black billionaire to make it from off of being a rapper, and you can put yourself into a seat like this and to bring about change, I say go for it. I say make it happen. I want the jersey, Jay-Z. So whatever team you are buying into, I'm buying a jersey because I like to support black-owned stuff. And it's absolutely historic that finally a black person will be able to have ownership into an NFL team. It's beautiful. Mm-hmm. Pass the torch, pass the baton. It's a lot of what's that word? Baby boomers? Is that the generation?
Generation B, our parents.
No, their parents. What I forget what it's called.
I was about to say,
yeah,
old.
Yeah, yeah. So old they
Our
shaking.
elders.
So old their words are shaking. They need to pass the baton because it's a new day with new people, and the face of America has changed
Dramatically.
There we go.
Bonbons.
Love it. I am at the game opener for the University of Michigan 2019-2020 football season, August 31st.
Go Purple.
Wow.
Which is made of blue. Go blue.
Is there what team is purple?
That stare that
is that Ohio?
Is looking at us like I'm gonna kill PJ. Okay.
Don't do that to me.
I'm not even cutting this out.
You bet.
I'll
Take my school very seriously. I am at the University of Michigan. Go blue. Yeah, that's for you. Game opener on August 31st, where we play Middle Tennessee as the game opener. And they're going to have new treats at the concession stand. I'm going to get the M Block Crazy Milkshake. You want to know what's in the M Block Crazy Milkshake? I'll tell you what's in the M Block Crazy Milkshake. The Monster Cookies and Cream Milkshake from RJ's Heavenly Delights in Jackson, Michigan is loaded with accessories, including an ice cream cookie sandwich, a Chips Ahoy chocolate chip cookie, a Block M sugar cookie, and a chocolate wafer.
I already know what I'm having.
And y'all talked about me.
Okay. This is all in one milkshake.
I was about to say,
okay?
she just
it's all
did it
in one item.
Where is that yard? I would like to go to it.
Blend it up.
University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Hot damn hole. Here we go again.
Okay.
Light as a rock,
that's
bitch,
where
hard as a cloud.
I wish I could be there in person. I will be there in spirit. But that's where I am, and that's the dessert that I'm getting from the concession stand. And honestly, for my final thought, I'd just like to echo what everybody said. I think that it just kind of sums it all up. Like I said before, I think people are so quick to react without actually understanding what it is that they're reacting to. With people getting upset about the comment that he made. And again, like, I understand that, like, you only have the information that at times you only have the information that the media wants you to see. But I think it's our personal responsibility to really make sure that we educate ourselves before forming and venturing an opinion. What's what I'm looking for? Educate ourselves with as much information as we can find. Like, we all four of us did our research before we came in here today to talk about this, so that way we can make sure that we were speaking at least as intellectually as we could about the topic. And I know a lot of personal feelings kind of get caught up in it, but we have to make sure that we are taking the time to separate and to really look at, like, what the facts are. And like I said before, like, my hope with this partnership is that Jay-Z is able to implement the type of changes that are going to have long-term positive effects, because he is in a position of capital, just like Red said. He's in a position where he can invoke these kind of changes. And that's what I am hoping to see from this. And I'll be the first person to admit that I will be extremely disappointed if I feel like nothing or not enough is being done. But I think that with the power that he has and the business mind that he has and the care that he does have for our community and everything that he has already done in terms of bringing awareness and bringing action to the changes that need to be made, I think that he is in a position, and he is the one who can make these kind of changes within the NFL, which is such a large platform.
I just want to say, I just scrolled through all of Spotify, and all of Jay-Z stuff is off of here. Like, I mean, not his stuff, but like his features are here, but his albums aren't here. But go ahead, I'm gonna cut that.
I noticed that the other day.
It's on
Tidal?
Yeah, it's all on Tidal. Yeah. Because I was trying to find a song to like put in here, but go ahead. Oh wait, all right, guys.
Okay.
Pass the torch. Pass the baton. Pass the torch.
The
Pass the
marathon
baton.
continues.
Pass the torch. Pass the baton. Pass the torch.
The marathon continues.
Running.
Shabba.
On that note, guys, thank you for taking the time to listen to another episode of Highly Melanated Podcast. As always, as said before, you can follow us on all brands of social media. Please not only just follow us, but share this episode, share episodes, have these conversations with your friends. Make this go beyond just what you're listening to on your daily commute, on while you're sitting at your desk or whenever you decide to listen to podcasts. Again, you can follow us on social media, which will be Highly Melanated Podcast on Instagram. You can follow us at H_Melanated Pod on Twitter. We'll actually start featuring some tweets every now and then. You can send us an email letting us know what you feel about what will it take for your black card to be revoked. However you want to word it, snatch, take it back, or whatever. It ain't yours. Don't take my black card.
You never get it back once you take it.
Okay. And just let us know how you feel, and we'll send an audio message. You can DM us on all of those. You can send it via email. If you have an iPhone, it's just really simple. Just make a voice memo and send it. If you have an Android, how do you do it?
Do something.
I don't
You tried it.
Well, I don't know. How would they do it if they have an Android? If
It's
they don't
all
know.
the same.
You have a voice memo app?
You have a voice memo app?
Yeah.
Really?
You know what?
I'm looking like in disbelief.
Y'all tried it. That's fine though.
You can download like WhatsApp or something and send it. You can actually download and WhatsApp and send those as well. We would just really love to hear from you guys. So stay tuned. There are some new things that are coming in the area. Why you keep looking at me like that? She's like,
because I just realized something.
What's that?
The black card is the cookout pass.
Oh.
If you got invited back to the cookout, that means your black card has been revoked.
Oh, so that's actually the new question. That's what we going. Who's not coming to the cookout? Who's not coming to the
Word. Because if you can't come to the cookout, that means you ain't got no black card. Ooh.
Some people I just straight up don't like, so I don't know.
Black
or not.
They go to your cookout. They ain't coming to mine.
Okay. I mean, well, don't say people in general. Like, if it's somebody specific that you know and they may listen to this show, I mean, you can Petty. I'm petty too. On that note, guys.
Petty. And we petty too. PP. Petty. Petty.
Petty.
Petty.
Petty. Petty.
Petty.
You invited to cookout?
Nope.
Invited to cookout? Nope. You invited to cookout?
Nope.
like
Slam in your face. Slam on your ass. Slam in your face. Let's slam on the ass.
Oh, God. On that note, guys, peace, love, and...
No raisins.
Petty.
Patty cake.
Hey.
Patty cake.
Hey.
Patty.
Invited to cookout?
Nope.
You invited to cookout?
Nope.
You invited to cookout? Nope.
Bye, guys.